So Marjorie, do you want to, oh, she's fixing something. Marjorie,
Yeah,
do you want to dispense with the decision case first, and then,
still trying to review the decision case.
Yeah, we are live.
Yeah,
oh,
okay,
yeah, sorry. All right, so let's just go to Eric then. Okay,
yeah.
okay, we'll just figure it out, because then we have to do a review session afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay.
The system won't allow me to start my video. It says you cannot start your video because the host has stopped it. Ah, there. Thank you.
We're live. Is everybody here?
Yeah, Commissioner Shabeta? So fast.
Please mute if you're not speaking.
Why don't we begin?
Okay, ready?
Mhm.
Can I go?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see the live Kurt's thing was blocking it, sorry. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is a continuation from this morning. It's the Board of Standards and Appeal public hearing. We're carrying over one case from this morning's calendar. That item is number 30, 2019-24 BZ, 2721 Nostrand Avenue, Brooklyn.
If you are a member of the applicant team, please raise your Zoom hand so that we can admit you.
Thank you, Kurt. Eric's not in yet.
I'm on. You can't hear me?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that.
I have two. Thank you for asking. I have two devices. One's two connections.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Oh, I
so,
see it. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for asking.
so when your team is here,
I think I don't see Keith Striga on here. Keith, are you on the call? And I don't see Ian. I don't
yes,
see Ian
he's here.
Rasmussen.
He's here. Tell him on mute.
Okay, and there should also be Ian Rasmussen should be on the call.
I'm here, Eric.
Beautiful.
We're all here.
Then we're all here. Everybody's here.
right.
Okay.
You
Raise
can-
your right hand. Do
Wait,
you affirm
please
to tell the
call the item first?
Yeah,
Oh, call it again.
Yes.
Item number 30, 2019-24 BZ, 2721 Nostrand Avenue, Brooklyn. Okay. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and respond honestly to board member questions?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
please proceed.
now, before you begin, I just want to say again, this is not going to be a 1-hour hearing. The board had many comments, and really the correct response should be, we're going to respond to your comments in writing. I don't want to hear long diatribes from all of the consultants about why they didn't respond or why responding isn't appropriate. We're not going to do that. So this is going to be a 10-minute maximum hearing. We'll hear testimony from neighbors. That's all. Because,
Well, Madam,
yes. And I don't want to hear an argument about how we're managing it. So because our comments were clear. So, all right, so proceed, but with that understanding.
thank you, Madam Chair, for giving me the chance to represent my client. My name is Eric Palatnik. I'm an attorney at law. My address is 32 Broadway, Suite 114, New York, New York, 10004. I am here today to present the application for the rooftop parking area at Plaza Auto Mall. We attended your review session. We heard your concerns, and lucky there was 5 hours in between when you made your comments, and we tried our best to respond to everything diligently. And now I'd like to show you the work that we've endeavored in the last 5 hours to diligently, attentively, and very thoughtfully respond to every single comment you just raised. And I think you'll be pleased, and I could probably do it in less than 10 minutes if that should please the board. And if you need more time to review all of the material that I'm submitting, please take more of your time, or I'm showing you. But we did listen to your review session this morning. It went on for an hour, 60 minutes, detailed comments, and we endeavored to change a lot of materials in the last 5 hours to attend to the request of your board. And we hope that it meets with your satisfaction. Mr. Rasmussen, please, can you share the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the first thing we heard this morning, and I'll make my presentation. Thank you for allowing me the time, even if it is only 10 minutes. I appreciate any time I can get to represent my client. We are here today to request a rooftop special permit for Plaza Auto Mall under section 7349 of the zoning resolution. At the review session today, we heard comments that the sound materials that we gave to you and the landscaping that we gave to you, and that the rear yard, the back 30 feet of the property needed to be an open area. So we have amended the plans at the rooftop area to reflect those comments, including a 30-foot lush landscaped area that we could provide more detail in a later submission, including a 30-foot unused area that's an open area in compliance, I think, with the chairwoman's earlier request earlier today. We have also responded to the fire department's letter, which also arrived today. So we heard the board's comments earlier today for an hour, and we heard the fire department's letter, which was arrived today as well. The fire department raised concerns and an objection with the stackers on the roof, which was echoed by the vice chair. Stay there, please, Mr. Rasmussen. And also asked for there to be a parapet openings at the rooftop. We are going to comply with the parapet openings as the fire department asks, and we have removed the stackers from the rooftop as has been requested by the chair, the vice chair, and the fire department asking for how we're going to treat it for fire protection. Please go to the first floor, please, Mr. Rasmussen. Again, this is Eric Palatnik, attempting to do my best to speak very diligently and quickly on the changes that we've made in our rezoning and our special permit application under 7349 to address the board's comments where they were concerned, and they spoke very strenuously during the review session about very many different things. The next thing was traffic. Go to the cellar, please, Mr. Rasmussen. I'm sorry. Cellar. And then we'll come up to the first floor. Cellar level. We were told that the 3 spaces that we provided at the first floor for a queuing area, even though not required under section 36-13 of the zoning resolution. We were told that the board would like to analogize it and was within their discretion to address traffic and concern issues, traffic and related issues. We took that to heart during the review session. We eliminated the 3 drop-off points at the top, and much like another application that the board recently approved on Merrick Boulevard, I believe is the address. I'll get the address correct. We have changed the layout so that the cars go down the ramp, and what you're looking at is the cellar here. A driver drives in off the street completely unobstructed down the ramp and leaves the car right by the elevator, therefore eliminating any backup onto the street that could possibly happen at all. You'll also see at the cellar level, we have removed parking spaces. The areas in red are where parking spaces used to be. We've taken them out. You also see at the cellar level that we've implemented a series of traffic control devices so that the main lead car, which is the customer car that's coming down the ramp, has no traffic impediments whatsoever. And it's only the skilled valet drivers that are subject to the traffic control devices, which will stop their flow of movement around the site to accommodate anybody coming in who is unfamiliar with the site. When they arrive downstairs, you see that there will be 4 spots for them to pull into, and there is a passenger elevator to take them upstairs. Go to the first floor, please, Mr. Rasmussen. The first
So there's
floor.
no more, it's not valet parking anymore?
It is. It still remains valet, Madam Chair. It does. We're trying. It does, and it just we just did, just for clarity, was during the review session. The board spent 9 minutes talking about the queuing and how important it was. So we heard the 9 minutes, 540 seconds of it, and we went back during the 5 hours and we removed the 3-car queuing that the board felt was not proper, and we have now provided the ramp all the way down to the cellar. And what you're seeing here is the first floor plan, where we have also changed the first floor plan because we heard the board's comments with respect to potential impact of pedestrians on the street, and we've eliminated curb cuts on the property, so that we've reduced the curb cuts that were previously there. There were approximately 5, and we've now kept 3. The 3 that we've kept, 2 service the required loading berths, which are located on the vehicle showroom floor in the back. You'll see them. The one on the right is the curb cut that enters into the parking garage. We go back up to the roof, please, Mr. Rasmussen. At the roof level.
Mr. Palatnik, I just want to say that in spite of your statements, potentially to the contrary, all these things that you're responding to now, like this on the fly in the 5 hours that you said you had, are responses in the end to comments we had at the last hearing that were ignored. So you're asking us, which we cannot do, to review on the fly, which we cannot do, especially during Zoom hearings, all of these proposed changes. So the issue is that we asked you to do it at the last hearing, and and your team decided to ignore us. And now, having heard our 1 hour, if that's what it was, of comments, now you jump in and say, oh, I guess they're serious, we better make some fast changes, right? So the first part of it is, it's good to see that at least the team is not ignoring us anymore and they're listening, but we're not going to be able to review this carefully. I have to say, it took me 2 days to review this application, and I know it took similar amounts of time for other commissioners to review the application. So you cannot expect us to look at this and say, yeah, terrific, way to go, right?
I don't.
Right there, you can go ahead with this, but again, make it brief. Then you need to see a submission in writing with all of this substantiated, et cetera, okay?
We understand entirely. And for the board's edification, we were not ignoring the board in our earlier submissions. We really were trying to create a fencing and a landscaping area up top that worked. We really did try an endeavor to make the board asked for extensive traffic information at the last hearing. And then the very same questions that the board asked were then, I believe, under the authority of zoning resolution 7303D, where the board is empowered to give it to the Department of Transportation. You did submit those questions, I assume, to the Department of Transportation because they're strikingly similar to what the board asked. And we did endeavor to answer those to the best of our abilities. We met with the Department of Transportation in October, and we tried really hard. So it wasn't as if we ignored the board. We did go back to the Department of Transportation and spent a lot of time with them. And
All right.
so we are trying.
Let's move
but
on. Move
I'll
on
move
because
on.
we
Can
have
I
a
go to
lot.
the first? Can I show you the first floor? Because I think you'll be happy with the first floor. And then you can study it and we can come back if you'd like us to. The first floor, what we've done here again is the 2 curb cuts you could see there. Everything we've done has resulted in a reduction of cars for sale. And we'll give you this in writing. Our total number of cars for sale is now 209 cars. There were 239 before. And we've kept the same amount of accessory off-street parking spaces at 93, because as we've told you from the beginning, the goal here is not to create more cars for storage for sale. They rent lots for more cars. So we're not going to fill the rooftop. And as Mr. Fisher just said, the presumption is that we're going to follow the law. I believe Ken Fisher of Cozen O'Connor said in the last application. We will follow the law, and we intend to. The rooftop, we intend just for parking for people who are coming to the site and for the employees, and some spaces downstairs at all. It will remain the important part at the 93 that we presented to you already. What's going to be reduced by the plan you see in front of you is the vehicles that are for sale. And the reason we're asking to maintain the 93, because this was a question which we tried to demonstrate to the board why we need it, which is that the streets are just clogged. There's nowhere for anybody to go when they come to this establishment for any of the businesses on the block. And they're all owned by the same person, the same family-owned company. And all of the employees that drive here, of which there are about 100 employees, there is no on-site parking for any of them as well. So we are desperately trying to accommodate that shortage of parking in the street. And as you know, we went and we met with Department of Transportation on October 2nd. We met with the top person at the Department of Transportation. And when we met with him, Angela Prengla of your board was on the call, and I believe Tracy Benke was on the call. And the Department of Transportation reviewed the plans with respect to the traffic generation and the modal split and a lot of the things that you asked for, and asked for our professionals to make a submission on that. So I'll let them speak to that and tell you what the DOT told them on that. And then we'll be happy to answer any questions you have. So thank you very much. I think you get the gist of the changes we made. Are with respect to the landscaping, if I could address your landscaping concerns, there were a lot of concerns that there was not enough soil and that trees would not live. Jay Emperor is on the phone. He can tell you now, with the 30-foot space that you now have, there is more than enough space to add more soil, so that whatever planting concerns people had about any soil will not be a concern. He's also on the phone to tell you that the wall that the board was looking to maybe create upstairs on the top floor, there were comments during the review session that the wood wall with the soundproofing material was not what the board wanted to see. We have agreed, the ownership has agreed to create the wall, as you just said, during a review session, and I'll let our professionals on the phone to speak to what they'll be providing to you. And we've really done our best, I think, during the last 5 hours to hear the concerns of the board's review session, to show you that we intend to accommodate all of the physical changes on the property that the board has asked for. And I thank you very much for allowing us the time to present it.
Okay, so just again, to cut to the chase, all of a sudden you're responding to the comments that we had in whatever month that was when we had our last hearing.
August 11th.
August 11th. Okay, so August 11th, we had all these same comments about planting being 30 feet away with a rear yard. We had comments about terrible queuing problems at the entrance, pedestrian circulation problems, too much traffic coming to this location, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And now you're scrambling this morning to respond, even though you could have responded and should have responded prior to this hearing with a submission. So we'll give you an opportunity so that we can actually review these materials to respond. However, there's a lot more that needs to be responded to, and you heard the hour. And what was very surprising about your submission this time on this case was very distinct from submissions that your office provides us on other cases where your attorneys go, they listen to the review session and the hearing, and they write down verbatim what's discussed. And then the heading of each question is written down. The question is written and the response is right below it. And the last submission, you only answered selectively what you wanted to answer. It's true, so please don't interrupt me. And so this time I expect every single one of our comments to be answered with the studies, with the analysis that we request, which includes an as of right submission that packs the building with 166 cars, just like the prior submission, the proposed submission did until this last one where you're modifying everything. The as of right should be packed with 166 cars, and you explain to us why that's not enough if you, more than that. Anyway, I want to see that as the as of right, because DOT and DEP are being sort of led astray with all these different numbers, 125 spaces, 114 spaces, who knows? And everything's different. Plus the impact on pedestrians with bringing in, as was very well articulated by, I don't remember if it was Commissioner Otley Brown or Commissioner Shanda, about the conglomeration of all of those different sales entities, bringing all of these sales groups into this one site. So now you have all of that activity, all of those salespeople, all of those pedestrians affected by that. You cannot ignore that. I don't want to hear a fly, sort of off the cuff response to that. We need data, we need studies, and we cannot do this without empirical information, okay? All right, do any commissioners have specific questions they want to pose given what we've seen? Okay, so Mr. Palatnik, you have 5 minutes for your other consultants if they want to say something. Otherwise, we need to see this in a written submission, which by the way is typical when we have a lot of comments on another case for the court's benefit, because I see how this is being orchestrated. For the court's benefit, another case we heard this morning, we decided that it needed to be adjourned and only have a review session so that the applicant could come back with a better submission. And that is standard operation at the Board of Standards and Appeals when we feel the applicant is not fully responsive. There, okay.
May I speak now? May I
Yeah.
have a moment to speak? Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to represent my client. Just so the board is aware, and I know, Madam Chair, you have your opinion. We have no desire to go to court. We're running a business. We have hundreds of people. If I can just finish my testimony, we have 100 people that work for us, and many of them support families. We have customers. We're probably the largest car dealership in Brooklyn. We do our best, and we're doing our best to accommodate the concerns of the board. Going, as the board has said 4 times at the last hearing, and now at the review session, and now, we have not once ever said that we desire to go to court for anything. We are making an application pursuant to 7349 of the zoning resolution under a special permit, asking permission to have a rooftop parking lot, just like was granted at 13621 Roosevelt Avenue under this very board that was remanded. And we're not trying to bicker with the board. We're trying to, just like in that application where we were asked for dense landscaping, traffic control measures, lighting, new arrangements, elimination of parking spots, limitation on hours, controls on who drives there, controls on when cars can run, radios, and every other reasonable condition which we agree to comply with. This is demonstrated by this hearing. We have zero desire to subject the people that work for Plaza, or to subject anybody, your board, or waste the resources of the city of New York, which is under tremendous financial constraints right now, defending an Article 78 motion. We intend to satisfy the board and prove to you that we meet the conditions of zoning resolution section 7349 and its attenuating section 7303, which, as I noted earlier, at section D specifically refers this application. If the board desires, the board may refer the application to, I'm citing it verbatim, to the New York City Department of Transportation, where if a report or review is done, the board may, at their discretion, implement their requirements at Department of Transportation. So we have tried our best, even though the board does not view it like that, to take our resources and spend a lot of money going back to the Department of Transportation, spending tens and tens and tens of hours, giving them all the data that was requested by the board, sitting with Matt Lawrence, the director of the New York City Department of Transportation, and providing them with that.
Palatnik,
We don't intend to go to court.
Please skip all of this and get.
We don't want to litigate, Madam Chair. We don't want to waste your
Okay.
resources.
Great, so, right, okay, so, please, we know what has been submitted and we know what has not been submitted, so please.
Thank you. Again,
So
I
I'm
just
gonna-
want to make clear that we have no desire, we don't make applications to this zoning board with the hopes that we will end up before any sort of judiciary tribunal. With that having been said, we'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody may have.
Okay, so I'd like to move to the public because I think there are a lot of people who may have called in on this. Let's do that.
So the application is 2019-24 BZ, 2721 Nostrand Avenue, Brooklyn. If you're calling in, 646-558-8656. If you're in Zoom already, you're *9.
Yes, if
Star nine.
if you called into Zoom, *9. Otherwise, raise your Zoom hand. So I think
This is on 2721 Nostrand
Yeah.
Avenue.
So I see Miss Jean-Marie raised her hand, so feel free, and let's start off with her. Ruth Jean-Marie.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. I'm not sure why my video isn't on, but I'm here. And I'll be as quick as possible. I just wanted to say my support for this project, mainly because it does create space for the neighboring community. I do appreciate the Plaza Auto Mall because of their dedication to employing a certain demographic, and that demographic mirrors mine. So that's where my support comes from. But also, this to me creates more space for those in the neighboring community. I grew up nearby, so that's also why my love for the space exists. And I think by having a rooftop parking space, it allows employees, it allows consumers to come by with ease. We've all been late for work, with ease, and attend to their responsibilities without creating a barrier for those who live nearby. After speaking with several people, it also seems as though they're also building soundproofing on the rooftop, which will actually help with noise, fire trucks. There's actually one in the background right now where I am, and actually add to a better lifestyle than previously existed, which is also a large part of why I'm supporting this project.
And do you live in the neighborhood?
Not anymore. I grew up nearby, but no longer. No.
Okay. So, so your interest in the project then is?
My interest in the project primarily comes from I've obviously been there. I never purchased a car from them. My interest in the project comes from their dedication to constantly employing my demographic. I don't normally see many companies, especially large scale companies, that actually show dedication to employing people of a Black background, employing Caribbean backgrounds, and making sure that we have an opportunity once we come here to be successful.
Okay.
And in addition to that, after having done some research and speaking to some people, it seems as though it's a great idea.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Senator Kevin Parker actually has his hand up. I didn't see the senator before. Apologies. Usually we go right to electeds.
No worry, Madam Chairwoman. Let me say hello to all the members of the board. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to address this matter. Again, my name is State Senator Kevin Parker. I represent the 21st District here in Brooklyn, which is part of Canarsie and part of Flatlands, but principally Flatbush and East Flatbush, Midwood, Ditmas Park, Windsor Terrace, and Park Slope. I'm the majority whip in the New York State Senate, and as well as the chairman of the Energy and Telecommunications Committee. And I'm actually here to testify actually on behalf of this project. I live in the area and represent a district right adjoining this community and know the area well. My address is at Avenue H and Brooklyn Avenue is where I live. And my office is at 3021 Tilden Avenue at the corner of East 31st Street, right off of Nostrand Avenue. And so my district lines come down to about Avenue K on Nostrand Avenue in that area. So the car dealership is about a block outside of my actual physical district, but it's like a block. I know Plaza Auto Mall very well. I actually bought my first brand new car there a number of years ago. So I've been a customer, but also let me just say, as a state senator, I have worked with them on a number of community events, and they're a great community partner. The situation on that block on Nostrand Avenue, between Avenue L and Kings Highway, at this point is untenable, and I think that this plan looks very much workable. If we can make adjustments to it that fit your criteria, obviously that's gonna be important and critical. But certainly making this project work to take cars off the street and to open up traffic on this block will be absolutely important, as well as continue to allow them to be a profitable business in our community. And so I'm all for it. Certainly was hearing your concerns. I think that they're reasonable. I think that they're things that the business can respond to. But I certainly think that the parking issue is absolutely critical, and being able to create parking on the roof for employees and for customers, I think would create a situation that's going to be great, not just for the business, but more importantly for the surrounding community that I think has a good relationship with the business, but I think does not enjoy the traffic that is created down the block, and particularly in the midst of this pandemic that has both threatened lives and livelihoods. Having a thriving business like this, we certainly ought to be doing whatever we can to work together within the context of your rules and regulations to assist that business to continue to create full-time jobs at a living wage with benefits. And so thank you very much for your time and attention, and hopefully that you'll take my testimony into consideration. Take care.
Thank you, Senator. I do actually have a question for you.
Yes,
Have you actually met with any of their experts to where they've substantiated the claim that they'll be alleviating the traffic problem by doing this?
I have not talked to any of the experts. I have talked to some of the people involved in the business about it, and so I know some rough things about the planning and what the goals are. And so I'm here to be supportive of those goals. I'm not a planner or engineer or anything like that. So but I certainly understand that their goal is to increase parking and freeing up the traffic on the block, and I think that's desirous.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. There is a speaker with hand up whose last three digits are 169. You called in, so it doesn't seem like you're muted anymore. So you can speak. Oh yeah, you are muted. So you're going to need to dial *6 in order to unmute yourself. So that's, there you go. Go ahead. Please identify yourself.
Hi, my name is Christian Raymondville, and I am a resident of South Midwood. I am also of Haitian American descent. I'm quite familiar with Plaza Auto Mall, and I've taken interest in participating in this call, and also speaking more so on behalf of the character of Plaza Auto Mall. I am 28 years old. I've grown up in this area for as long as I can remember. I actually used to go to school on Avenue M and East 29, so quite familiar with the business itself. I'm also familiar with it from a standpoint of being a patron, as my sister bought a car there 2 years ago, and I was able to assist her with negotiations. And I can say that Plaza Auto Mall does a really good job of, one, enhancing the community from an economic perspective by providing jobs for men of color, which I happen to take an interest in because I'm a consultant to an enterprise called the Gentleman's Factory, which is a social incubator that's steadfast on helping men of color reach their full potential in different aspects of their lives, and more so economically. So I'd just like to say that I don't have any ties to Plaza Auto Mall, but just understanding the resources that they bring to the community and the fact that they do want to alleviate traffic and make a better flow for business and for people that live in the area seems quite reasonable to me. So thank you for listening to me, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. I don't see anybody else with their hand up from the community who would like to speak. If you would like to speak on this, please raise your Zoom hand. And if you're calling in, there, I see Mark Appel. Is that, we just leave him in?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there you go. Mr. Appel? What happened to him? Mr. Appel, if you would like to speak, you have to unmute yourself. If you're on Zoom, you need to.
I'm here.
There you go.
Hello.
State your
Yes,
name.
speak. State your name.
Hello, I'm here.
State your name and speak. You'll have 3 minutes.
I'm here.
Yes.
Yes, speak. We
Can you
hear
hear us?
Yes, I hear you clearly.
Okay, state your name, please.
Mark Meyer Appel,
Okay.
and I'm the
And what-
founder of the Bridge Multicultural and Advocacy Project on Flatbush Avenue.
Okay. Go ahead, speak.
I'm very excited about this project. I'm sure everybody's excited about the project. The city of New York, your agency and your leadership, as well as the dealer. I represent a large residents and the businesses in this community for over 20 years as a major not-for-profit in the city. And I spend almost every day passing by Nostrand Avenue. There's no question that everybody wants to see this project done successfully in compliance with all the city regulations, your recommendations. I see an applicant that's very willing to follow all your recommendations. I know it's a process, but I hope this process goes forward. I think that the Plaza Oldsmobile has been a very substantial partner in hiring minorities in our community, as well as doing Thanksgiving and other events, which helps this community. I think it would be a great, great, great breakthrough for this community to alleviate the problem that we've been having on Ocean Avenue by having this project completed. It's a beautiful project. I know everybody spent a lot of time. I know there are concerns, but the concerns are being addressed I understand, by the applicant. And I hope that if all the regulations are met, that we can get the program off the ground and get this application approved.
Okay. Thank you very much for. Okay, if there's anyone else who would like to speak on this sort of last call, please raise your Zoom hand. I see two phone numbers in our waiting room. If you want to speak on this application, this is
2019-24 BZ 2721 Nostrand Avenue.
right. If you'd like to speak on that application, then please raise your Zoom hand. And for those of you who are calling in with a phone, dial *9 to raise your Zoom hand with your telephone. Give it just another minute to see if anyone else raises their hand. So far, I don't see anyone. Okay, so let's go back to Mr. Palatnik. Oh, Tracy.
Chair.
Yeah, Tracy, go ahead.
Hi. I have a logistical question. As you know, currently there's an open DOT review based on the last plan with the 73 rooftop spaces. And the last, I know that may have changed. That being said, the board has also requested a level of service analysis and further pedestrian analysis. Based on these requests, I'd like to know if the board would like to review the next submission before we send to DOT, or if as soon as we get the next submission, if we can send it to DOT.
I would call DOT and ask them to hold off because I don't want them to spend time unnecessarily. So they wait until we get the next submission, which should include, because I wanted DOT also to review the kinds of environmental questions that we raised about level of service, pedestrians, and as of right with 166 cars, those kinds of things, because they're working off of, for one, inconsistent as of rights. Also, I understood that the trip generation analysis wasn't the most recent one because the noise memo indicated they're waiting for trip gen. So it seems like DOT is not working with the proper data, and I don't want them to be wasting their time. So both DOT and DEP should hold off on further review until we get the next submission. And just a reminder to the team, the submission has to be fully responsive to every question that the board asked about studies, about the as of right. And if we talk about now it looks like an expanded rooftop landscaping, then details about how in the world that's going to work, because we have seen that the examples that were given for those hospitals and institutions were managed by kind of an elaborate landscape architecture team, and also obviously would be managed by professional landscapers, and that the sections through those rooftop gardens need to be provided to us so that we know that what is being suggested here is of equivalent, let's say, technical, sort of technical detail, right? Because you can just draw a bunch of plants on the roof and it doesn't mean that you have a viable landscaped area. So, yeah, and I see one hand up in the panelists. What is that? Sorry. Oh, maybe it's not there anymore. Okay. So with that then, Mr. Palatnik, how much time to respond to? You're gonna need really some time.
Yeah, well, it's the holidays. Hopefully we're all done with this year, right? So we'll do it. I don't know. How is the middle of February for you? We could have something into you at the end of January, and then you tell us what accommodates you. I don't think anybody's traveling anywhere for any breaks, so you tell us.
I'm thinking you need at least 6 weeks to prepare a proper response.
Sure.
Okay, so that's what I'm going to note. Okay. So I thank everyone for joining. I beseech you as the applicants to actually respond to every single one of our questions for real. And right. Okay. So
we will have a nice holiday, everybody. It's been a really hard year, and you're all doing great work. Everybody thanks you for your leadership on everything, for all 5 of you and your staff. Thank you. Have a great New Year's and good holiday, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay, where are we going, Madam Chair? Review session?
Yes, to review session. I'm having trouble reviewing the bound thing. We'll get that done at a break or something like that.
Okay, so now we are commencing with the review session for December 15, 2 p.m. No public testimony to be taken during this review session. The first item up is zoning calendar, new cases. Item number 32, 2020-12BZ, 356 White Avenue, also known as 62 South 2nd and 4551 South 3rd Street, Brooklyn. This is for a row house Williamsburg PCE.
Right. So this is a new application. So we have proof of service of initial application to officials and of notice of hearing to officials and neighbors, as well as photos of a posting in the lobby for PCE. That's must be a legalization. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a lobby posting. But it doesn't say that in the papers that it's legalization. We don't have a community board recommendation yet, as far as I can tell. We do have DOI. I didn't see fire department on this one. Do we have it? And those
They
were
just submitted it today.
Okay. And is it an LNO?
They have no objections.
Okay. Okay, great. So those are my comments. Vice Chair Shanda?
I have no additional comments. I'm fine with the application.
Okay. Commissioner Otley Brown?
No additional comments.
Commissioner Sheta?
No additional comments other than we need some interior photos. That's it.
You need, I'm sorry, what?
Some interior photos.
Photos, oh. Okay. And Commissioner Shabeta?
Nothing further from me.
Okay. All right.
Next item, I'm sorry, may I go on?
Yeah.
Next item is item number 33, 2020-72 BC, 85 J Street, Brooklyn.
Okay, this is also a new application. We have proof of service of initial application to officials and of notice of hearing to officials and neighbors. Community board waives its review. We have fire department, letter of no objection, and DOI. To understand the acoustical separation issues better, I'd like the applicant to show the courtyard dashed in above the cellar level and to explain what are the uses that are located directly above the free weights area. The yoga studio at the first floor has detailed acoustical separation measures, whereas none of the other much noisier and vibration heavy activities do. So please provide these. As a note, vibration carries from the cellar. Speaker sound also carries both the sound and the vibration. What are the noise limiters on the sound systems? The statement of facts has a detailed description of the acoustical isolation approach, but the plans show none of that. So the plan has to be coordinated with that information. And it does provide very clear details for the yoga studio. So there should be clear details for the other spaces. Show locations also of the wall, floor and ceiling treatments, as well as the drop pads, the location of the drop pads for the heavyweights. The statement of fact states that this is a trainer-based facility, but the facility hosts 800 to 1,000 patrons a day. I've been to a lot of gyms. I don't see how that's a possibility to be trainer-based. If what you mean is that trainers walk around the gym under normal circumstances and make sure people aren't hurting themselves, that's a completely different thing than one-on-one training. But if you have 800 to 1,000 patrons a day, it means you might have, you need like 300 or 400 trainers in order to accommodate that. So that's not really a believable statement. Those are my comments. Vice Chair Shanda.
An additional comment from my end, and that is I do see a massage area that is being proposed on the site. It's not clear to me, will that be one of those self-service massage thing, or will there be a massage therapist? If so, I recognize this is a new facility, so licenses will not be available, but I just wanted to know whether it will be a self-service, those mechanized things versus person thing.
Right. Okay, thank you. Commissioner Otley Brown.
They need to reconcile their statement. Page 2 says there's an outdoor area in the courtyard for PCE cafe patrons and the occasional yoga class, but page 6 says no PCE activities will occur in the outdoor area.
Okay. Okay, great, thank you. And Commissioner Sheta.
Thank you, Chair. We need a letter from the structural engineer. Like you said, Chair, the vibrations could travel through the structural elements upstairs from the PCE. So we need an assurance from the structure engineer that this has been looked at, and at least for now, based on theoretical models, vibrations are not anticipated to travel upstairs. This is one thing. The other thing, I believe we should condition if we grant on noise and vibrations, and we should wait and see until it's in operation and if any complaints arise. That's all. Thank you.
Right. And, you know, most of the time what we see is these vibration heavy uses are located on top of like isolation systems, the way we see them in the spin studios and things like that, the box within the box. And that isolation eliminates to a large extent the possibility of the transfer of the vibration to the structure. So not sure why they're not looking at that here. Eliminates headaches in the future, possible post-opening shutdowns, that kind of thing that are unrelated to COVID. Okay.
Maybe they are counting. Maybe they are counting on the fact that the structure is new. It's under construction.
Yeah.
And maybe they are taking this into account when designing structural elements. Make sure that they are heavy enough to dampen any vibrations that could travel up. So hopefully this is the case.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. Okay, and Commissioner Shabeta.
My comments are mostly about the noise and vibration. I'm hoping the same thing as Commissioner Shabeta's hoping that since this is the new construction, that they're making those moves now, and it would be cheaper to do now than to repair later.
Mm-hmm. Right. Great. Thank you. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, that's it. Thank you. Yep.
Okay, continued hearing items. Item number 34, 2019-280BZ, 137 Fifth Avenue, Manhattan.
Okay, so, sorry, 1 second. Scrolling. Okay. So this one, we've been trying to get a handle on the noise transmission through the side window to the alley. At the last hearing, we directed the applicant to put up some sort of temporary sound absorbing material, and the result of that was somehow they came up with a blackout curtain that they obviously found like on a just general Google search, a blackout curtain that oddly is hung too low in the window. So I don't really understand how they found that one, but fortunately though, they have ordered something that is custom, but I didn't see that they provided specs on it or anything, but it's custom and we should be able to see it installed shortly. I hope that they took the right measurements of the opening to make sure that it's wide enough and long enough to completely cover the window. It doesn't actually do any good if there are openings between the window and this, whatever this custom system is. And hopefully this will actually do the trick. Problematically, the neighbors who appeared before us previously to complain about the noise seem not to be at this location. Obviously, they've kind of moved out during this whole pandemic period. So, but hopefully it will do the trick. And when they do return, we'll be able to determine whether the installation is effective. So what I'd suggest is that we see this one more time with the acoustical treatment installed, and then condition approval on proper testing being done once things return to what one might imagine is normal in some not too distant future. And also we need to hear about the sound limiter on the speakers, which we asked for. The real issue apparently is the noise of the speaker system, and that's dealt with sound limiters, and nobody told us anything about sound limiters. So those are my comments. Vice Chair Shanda?
Thank you. I'm actually satisfied with the proposed measure that they're suggesting. I agree that we do need to put this on a short leash just to make sure this measure is working. And I also want to make sure that the window condition would remain closed during the business hours, even with the nice town curtains, because the sound, it's just not worth. I'm not sure how effective it is with that curtain and because somebody may move the curtain for a little bit of breeze or whatever. So I think much more operational measure needs to be taken to make sure that nobody opens the window during business hours.
Right. Actually, I was surprised to find this little curtain blackout curtains are for blacking out. They're not sound, right? Funny about them selecting it, because you actually find acoustical curtains that are used in recording studios and things like that, which they didn't select. But the instruction was to block up the window, not to hang like a little curtain. So you're right that they might then open the window and the sound blows through the window. So I want to underscore that I hope this is not a curtain that's on a curtain rod and all of that. So anyway.
The ones that I have seen are like you make a hook on the wall and then it's like almost like, when you go for x-ray, you put on this kind of a shield kind of thing on top of you.
Yeah.
It's something like that. And then you hang it off those hooks.
Right.
So it's a very solid thing. It's not like you can shift swoosh it to the other end of the curtain. That's not what I have seen, at least online, because I was doing research for a music studio and those are the materials I came across.
Right. So they didn't give us a cut sheet on their proposed custom solution. They only gave it to us on this very temporary questionable solution. So there's no way for us to know what this is unless they give us a cut sheet. But I'll go to Commissioner Ollie Brown.
I have no additional comments.
Okay, Commissioner Sheta.
Nothing further from me. Thank you.
Commissioner Shivetta.
Nothing further from me.
Okay.
Chair.
Okay. All right. Great. Thanks. Next one.
Item number 35, 2019-205BZ, 485 Van Sinderen Avenue, Brooklyn.
Okay. Oops, sorry, scrolling, just give me a second. All right. This application was last heard in April and adjourned to allow the applicant and fire department to work out fire truck access issues. We now have a conditional fire department letter of no objection and an emergency access easement through the building that was required by fire department, and it goes through the building to the Snedeker building, through the building at Snedeker to the rear of this building for the fire department to gain access. Both of those, both the emergency access easement, we also have a restrictive declaration, which is very important for these applications, committing to 100% low income occupancy at 60% of AMI and less for the life of the building. So both of those declarations, easement, whatever, have to be executed and recorded before we release the resolution. Okay. I don't know that fire department reviewed their emergency access easement. So I want to make sure that they review that and that it's okay with them, because it was at their request that this was created. Yeah, Jella, go ahead.
It was sent to FDNY and I understand that they are reviewing it.
Okay, so, but we don't have sign off from them on that.
Right.
Document, right?
Yes.
Okay. Good. Okay. And then we do have a letter from HPD indicating that they did a preliminary design guideline review. Hopefully upon final review, because this is only preliminary, they will not change the project significantly so that it won't implicate any of the board's findings. We unfortunately had that experience with another application where the project was sort of threatened to be completely changed and would have had to come back for a major amendment here. So hopefully that so-called preliminary review will be adequate to not force a bigger change in the project. Fire department direction required pushing the project back from the street line 20 feet instead of the initial 14 feet to get better access by trucks. This ended up reducing the rear yard depth to less than the required 30 feet for residential use and on the residential district boundary, so which requires 30 feet in an M district. There's an additional waiver that's required for that. They did get DOB objection. But other than that, because that's a direct instruction to a building built on a residential district boundary, no matter what the use is, it seems that other bulk waivers that are being requested may not actually be required, though happy to give them if they think that that's what they need. But this is a use variance. And because residential is not a permitted use in the district, there are no bulk parameters. So I'm not really sure that those other listed objections are really needed, require waivers. The elevator core has shifted only slightly closer to the center of the building. So it's like one apartment bay closer to the center of the building. But the walk and what I call the roll, because a lot of these people are going to be arguably in wheelchairs or pushing walkers, that walk is still long for those who live at the other end of the corridor. But the recreation space that is required by heirs for the heirs projects is provided at slightly more than the required 4%. And recreation space for quality housing is provided at the rear yard as required. But I do direct them to correct the chart that's on the zoning drawings. The chart is indicating that quality housing requires 2.8% of recreation space when it's actually 3.3% in the zoning district. So they should correct the chart, but it's not actually an issue because their outdoor space is much larger than what's required under the percentages. So one of my concerns in terms of the rear yard, though, is the rear yard is now only 20 feet and so doesn't comply with zoning as a rear yard for residential use. I don't know if that implicates the multiple dwelling law. So the multiple dwelling law requires, I believe, 30 feet for a legally required window. So they may need to add a multiple dwelling law waiver to this application. They need to check that. I have seen sometimes DOB will say, well, BSA's approval of a yard is the yard that's required in the multiple dwelling law. Therefore, you don't need a multiple dwelling law waiver. But I don't know if that's what will happen here. That's happened in the past, but maybe it hasn't happened always in the past. So they have to be careful with that. Otherwise, they'd end up having to come back here again. This building is tall compared to the neighboring apartment buildings, but it's especially tall compared to the 7 two-story houses to the rear. That takes up sort of half of this lot. I didn't find anything in the new materials that address the impact on neighboring buildings of this very long unmodulated building in a now reduced rear yard. So you know, neighborhood character is basically how we're determining what the scope of this waiver can be, since we don't have technical support from HPD about what is sort of the minimum variance necessary. So instead, we sort of rely on neighborhood character. So they must have an argument that talks about the impact on a reduced rear yard on those little buildings and on the impact of the tall building on those little buildings. We cannot ignore neighborhood impact as a factor. And I just want to say again, you know, I was a little disappointed to see how this project was modified after all this time, because the instruction to the architect was, look, you have no bulk parameters on this site. it's a use waiver. So make whatever modifications to the bulk you think makes a better project. And I was disappointed because all they did is they took exactly the same project and they slid it back. Whereas I actually do think that this is more editorial than anything else, that this is a double loaded corridor solution where 50% of the units face the railroad tracks and the noise from the trains. And there could have been a solution that effectively turns its back or its side or arranges the units in a way that isn't so isn't intentionally ignoring the site conditions. You know, I know this is low income housing, but you don't have to treat people like it's low income. And so anyway, that's my little editorial. Vice Chair Shanda.
You know where I stand on this one. I don't have to elaborate much, but I would say as a former assistant commissioner of the design team at HPD, I'm glad to see that the design team is doing a preliminary review of these projects and providing a go-ahead. So it was a battle well fought, I would say, at my end to see this happening now. We, you know, from what I know, what they review and how they review it, and there was a very detailed, just to give you a background, there was a very detailed analysis I was involved in that I started when I was heading that team. Was to review utilization of space, optimization of space, circulation space, and analyze several senior housing projects, several supportive housing projects, and we went through them in details to see what is the ratio of various circulation space, utilization space, room space, common area, lobby, everything. I think this project very much falls within those guidelines that we had recommended at that time, and that it has been implemented. So I'm very satisfied with the submission that has been made. I really have no additional comments, and I really look forward to this project being funded and built to provide much needed affordable housing for the seniors in the city.
Okay, thank you. So just to be clear, because I don't want to give any false impressions, the letter from HPD was not a good to go on the design.
I know.
Right? It was, we looked at it preliminarily, and we're going to look at it deeper, and we may change things. That's actually.
This is something I can have a discussion with you over a cup of wine or a glass of wine, how that change came about during my tenureship there. But that was something that we were pushing to provide two-tiered approval. One was a preliminary as a broad brush, and then deep dive analysis, which takes a very long time and a lot of back and forth coordinating with the financial and all other things. So the fact that we have finally, we meaning HPD has recognized there's a need for the two-tier, and to do that, I'm glad that has been done now.
So we have gotten these kinds of letters from them before. And the problem is then they change the project. So
which is unfortunate. It is unfortunate because at the end it's money speaks and programs change. That's the other part of it. Right. And all of those things. And so to the best of their ability, the design team tries to evaluate them based on what they have now. And yes, the financing may change, and that may change some of the program requirements. The state fundings may change the requirements. The federal funding may change the requirements. There's so many unknowns, but I am satisfied with it. Okay. From what the various guidelines that we had recommended back then and what is being proposed is very much consistent.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Otley Brown?
I'm fine with the project as is.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Sheta?
I have no additional comments. Thank you.
Commissioner Shabeta?
Nothing additional, thank you.
Okay, Good. All right, thank you.
Final item is 2020.
Oh, sorry, excuse
sorry.
me.
Sorry, go
Hi.
ahead.
I just wanted to reiterate, now that the project seems like it'll be coming to a final version, that we will need a memo stating that the changes since the last version haven't affected the environmental review. And we'll need an updated EAS showing the new project with the updated waivers once they're decided, and notes on the plans regarding the hazmat and noise attenuation measures if they haven't changed.
Mhm. Okay. Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Trace, sorry. Next item is 2020-61BZ, 342, 346 East 104th Street, Manhattan. This is still a review session.
Okay, sorry. Getting there, sorry. Here we go. We now have a community board recommendation to approve. We were waiting for that. Programmatic needs analysis was clarified to pick up the discussions from the prior hearing. We were provided with better details on the entry court. There's a precast knee wall that appears to run along the property line that's shown on that new detail. I'd like the applicant to explain what is the proposal for preventing trash buildup and worse behind it, because there's like a big space between the knee wall and the adjacent property. And I'd like them to provide an elevation of that sidewall, that sort of side of the entry court. I assume also that the section through the planter that was provided is incorrect since it's shown as solid as opposed to containing soil and planting. On drawing P09, I see for the first time that use of the roof at the rear is very restricted due to line of sight noise analysis, and that the method for limiting access to that area is planting. I'd like to verify with Ms. Benke, is DEP okay with using planting as a way to discourage access like that? And also, just in 1 second, I'd like to know what's the detail for this planting, because again, it's the roof of a setback. And also, what is the planter roof detail? That's basically what I said. What kind of planting is it? What's the detail of the planter? And in terms of the type of planting, this whole idea of kids, kids will trample ground cover. Maybe they won't trample bushes of some size. I don't know, because it's great hide and seek material. So I really kind of want to understand better. I don't know if these kids are age grade for hide and seek, but nonetheless. So I really want to understand better DEP's position on this, because it's not a restricted area. It's just a planted area, which is nice looking, but so go ahead, Tracy.
Yeah, we're working with DEP because the applicant had proposed a few design options, and basically the last word we had, but we're still in discussions, is that DEP doesn't care what material is in the restricted area as long as it's not a noise source.
Oh, so they don't care. But what about if it, so in other words, they're kind of like taking the school's operational word for it that they won't let kids crawl around in the planted area, is basically it, because they'll make noise. It's the nature of.
Right.
Right.
They said the 6-foot fence, the noise barrier should be solid with no gaps, and the materials should provide at least 20 dBA of transmission loss and conform to the dimensions in the noise analysis. They did, I think the applicant had a follow-up question, so we're still working with them.
Okay, all right. Because the fence is outside, the fence is around the perimeter of the roof. There's this very large area where kids can't, we're not supposed to go. That's called the planted area. That's what I'm talking about. Like,
right.
Off.
Yeah.
And so this is an architectural problem, actually. Anyway, so, all right, so I also want to make sure, so there's a fence, there's one particular fence at that rear area that is supposed to be taller, and not just 6 feet, I think it's supposed to be like 12. And it's supposed to be of an acoustical material treatment. And that's mentioned in some spots on the drawings and not in others. I want to make sure that it's consistently noted throughout the drawings, because some drawings just show it as a regular 6-foot fence and at wire mesh, and others show it as a taller section facing that one, I guess it's that one line of sight receptor that kind of block. Also, I had asked for more information on the degree to which the proposed rooftop mechanicals do not comply with coverage and permitted obstructions of section 64332 and 2362. The applicant provided that analysis for the as of right, but not for the proposed. And I'd like to know better, is there something about the layout of the equipment on the roof as proposed that causes the non-compliance, or is it just the quantity? They also indicate that screening is too expensive, and I'd like to find out what they mean by screening. There was this, a couple of not renderings really, but sort of perspectives showing when the mechanical equipment becomes visible from the street. And, you know, maybe that's not enough to warrant screening, but they said it was too expensive, and I don't know what it was they were thinking of when they talked about screening. Because in addition to that, I don't know whether there's receptor related screening, whether this building is as high as any of the receptors for noise. Of course, all the mechanical equipment is supposed to comply with noise code. So if it has to be screened, it has to be screened under noise code. And also, I just want to say that the drawings that were submitted to us are color coded. The way you would color code it, sort of like a programmatic needs analysis set of drawings, because we're using a PDF that we send to DOB, and it gets reproduced over and over again for the set that will ultimately stamp. It can't have this color coding on it. It has to be clean. Otherwise it just won't read, because it's just going to be a black and white version of a PDF. We were provided with cut sheets of this thing called stow wall for the system that is proposed to be used on the exterior of the building. In particular, I think it's on the side walls, the rear and side. And when I asked about it at the last hearing, I asked about it because it seemed to me to be the forbidden exterior insulation foam system or finish system. And then we were given cut sheets, and as I'm looking at them, it seemed to me to be glorified EIFS, even though on the elevations the word stucco appears as the indicator. So they provide the cut sheet, so I of course dug further. On Stow Corp's very own website, there is a link to an AIA seminar that Stow Corp will be offering in January entitled, quote, "Designing with Modern EIFS," unquote. So this product is EIFS, and the BSA does not accept projects using this material for exterior cladding, period. If this is fancy EIFS, and I don't know that's what it is, then we open the door to terrible EIFS, which is mostly what is offered on other projects. And this board cannot get into the subtleties between the poor quality systems and the good quality systems. I know that this architect arguably tries to use better quality materials, but so maybe this is fancy EIFS, but I just have to say no, otherwise it's an inconsistent application of sort of my basic rule that we cannot have these really questionable finish systems that don't endure in BSA projects. Okay, and those are my comments. Vice Chair Shanda.
Thank you. I had one comment, and that was the letter of support from SUNY that was provided. It didn't have a date. It's just, I'm curious when that, oh, wait a minute. This is so strange. I opened this letter so many times and I could not see the address date. And now I just opened it. Now I can see it. Forget it. It says October 20.
The PDF builds and loses, it's always weird. The PDF builds, loses a layer, all these things that are weird. Okay.
Okay. So that answers my question. I think they have responded to my comments. My comments was mostly along that entrance from First Avenue, how that's going to be treated. But I still remain, and I look towards DEP to address, and it's with regards to the noise, that if there is going to be any noise impact from that open courtyard, because there are windows along the, there is a shaft. This is one of those barbell kind of buildings, and there are windows in that shaft area. So just want to make sure, if you look at photograph.
You're talking about the First Avenue entry court?
Yes, I'm talking about the First Avenue entry court.
Just think about it. It's a high school. Everybody went to high school here. It's noisy. Right. There'll be many, many kids who arrive at the same time to show up in school. And if this little entry court is really nice, which they have a little planter, you're going to hang out there, wait for your friends after school or at a break. Sure, it's going to be noisy. So I don't know what DEP is talking about, but yeah, you're right. There's this tenement building window, series of windows that's usually bedrooms, frankly, right? Bedrooms that look onto that shared court.
So that's the only thing, and I'm sure DEP is looking into it. But other than that, I was satisfied with the programmatic needs statement and the revised documents. I have really no additional comments.
Okay, so Tracy, I'm not sure whether DEP is actually looking at that. I'm not sure what in the world you can do about it either, because it's an open space. It's a little different than rooftop recreation. It's the arrival point of a noisy use, right? And it's only noisy during very specific times. It's when the kids arrive and arguably lunch breaks when they're allowed to go outside, if they're, it depends on how the school's operated, and then at recess, right? But every school presents that just to the sidewalk. Is this different than a sidewalk? I don't know.
That's a fair point.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Commissioner Ali-Brown.
I found them very responsive in writing up the answer that they had given to me about why they chose the New York City Department of Education's instructional footprint for high school for their classroom sizes. And I also found it very helpful that they also drew out the diagram with furniture layouts for all of the different types of learning that they had. So I was satisfied. I have one remaining question because I had asked about lighting on the third floor terrace. And they answered me that there would be lighting on the third floor terrace for security purposes and that they don't intend to use the terrace after dark. So then what are the security purposes and when are they turned off? Mm-hmm. That's all I need to know, basically.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. Commissioner Sheta.
Thank you, Chair. I want to thank them for the thoroughness of the submission. The only thing I have actually is related to the former condition plans, which were submitted this time. In these plans, I can see clearly that the former building had an about 10 feet cellar. So I'm wondering, why isn't it possible to utilize a cellar and probably mitigate some of the waivers that are requested? If they have a good reason, I would like them to just add that to the statement of facts, and I'm willing to listen to them during their testimony. Thank you.
I think it might have been a question that came up earlier because we were asking like, why is the gym elevated versus the, like so they're below, this is a flood zone actually.
Right.
So they elevated a portion of the building so as not to have to flood-proof the entirety. So there's actually like ramps that take you to the gym. And they can't go, they don't want to, well, they can't go below because they'd have to do one of those dry flood proofing for the entire cellar.
Basement.
Yeah, so for the actual cellar, because the building is essentially at grade or 1 foot above grade to clear the flood elevation. And so, I mean, I think we discussed this already, I think.
Actually, when I looked at the former condition plans, I wasn't realizing that this is a flood zone. Yes, I'm fine with it.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's go. Yeah.
Commissioner Shabeta.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I respond to you. I have many of the same notes. I think it was I found this to be responsive. With regard to Commissioner Otley Brown stated about the third floor terrace, the light being on, I thought that was to ensure that no one would be on the terrace, as high schools might be where they're not supposed to be. But I think that I saw they didn't mention when they would turn that light off. The only other thing that I noticed was the community board had 37 people, 37 approvals, but there were 39 people present. I'm not sure what happened to the other two. It's not a big deal either way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I noticed that. It doesn't look like they actually abstained. Maybe they weren't in the room or something at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that concludes the public review session. We'll now commence with the public hearing. Okay, now this is the public hearing for December 15, 2020, 2 p.m. session. You're calling in 646-558-8656. The first case up is new case, item number 32, 2020-12BZ, 356 White Avenue, also known as 4551 South 3rd and 6062 South 2nd, Brooklyn. This is a row house Williamsburg PCE.
Good afternoon. I got to be sworn in.
Yep, 1 second.
All right.
Do you affirm? Raise your hand. Thank you.
I had it off.
Affirm. Aye. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond on city board member questions?
I do. Good afternoon. Jay Goldstein for the applicant. I listened to the review session. This is point of clarification. It's not a legalization. The reason I did the lobby posting is because I had someone out there doing the regular mailings and in the area. I wanted to put the posting just in case we were able to open in between the notice and hearing, and we would have updated accordingly, but it is still unfortunately closed. So it's not a legalization, but we did do the posting just in case. Okay. In terms of the community board, we were scheduled to have a community board meeting in March of 2020. That got postponed because of COVID. I've emailed and called a number of times to see if they wanted to hear us. It's gone to the chair of the land use committee and I've received no comments and no indication if they wanted me to present. So I asked the board, given the amount of time that's gone on, that we can possibly close this hearing if there are no other comments.
Right. No other comments other than, so the use doesn't exist. You don't have need interior.
There's nothing open. The gym is there, but it has not been opened.
Okay. So Commissioner Sheta, it's not a legalization. Do you still need interior photos?
You're muted.
You're muted. We can't hear you. Commissioner Sheta, unmute yourself.
Sorry. Yes, sir. Yes, I did. Thank you.
So no. Say it again. Sorry, we missed everything you said.
Yeah, I'm going to repeat what I said. Thank you. Okay. I'm saying yes, if they have the equipment inside and the gym is ready to open, but it's not open yet, yes, I would like them to provide some interior footage. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
I
you.
don't know that the equipment is there. I'm just not positive on that point, but I'll get you interior photos. It's no problem.
If the equipment is not there, you don't have to.
Okay, fair enough.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so let's go to the public then.
So this case is 2020-12BZ, 356 White Avenue, also known as 4551 South 3rd and 6062 South 2nd, Brooklyn. So if you're calling in, it's 646-558-8656. ID number is 928-1347-4075. And if you're using Zoom, *9.
Yeah, well, let's see if anybody, I don't usually.
*6 for the hand.
No, it's *9 for the hand, *6 to unmute yourself. So,
*6 to unmute. I always get that mixed up.
Okay, so we only have one person on the phone. If anyone who's in the waiting room wants to speak on this application, please raise your Zoom hand, or if you're calling in, *9.
This is the Row House Williamsburg PCE.
Right. Okay, then I don't see anyone raising any hands. So then, other than the interior photos and maybe a follow-up with the community board, I don't see anything outstanding. Did we get fire department? Yes, we did. Okay.
Yes, this morning.
So, yeah. Okay.
I mean,
So
I can get you interior, if the equipment's there, I can get you interior photos this week.
okay.
Snowstorm, maybe not. Maybe by Monday.
Well, it doesn't matter. We don't have another hearing until mid-January. So.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So I would like then to make a motion to close.
Chair Perlmutter?
Aye.
Vice Chair Chanda?
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown?
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta?
Aye.
Commissioner Shabeta?
Right.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Next item, new case, item number 33, 2020-72BZ, 85 J Street, Brooklyn.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi. Hey, Jeff. Anybody else with you, Jeff?
There's a couple of folks, but I'll be the only one speaking, I believe.
Okay, raise your right hand.
Sure.
Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond on city board member questions?
Yes.
Go.
Good afternoon, Chair.
Sorry, just one thing.
Yeah.
Jeff Rubin raised his hand. Is he your team?
Yes, there are other members of my team. Should they all be sworn in? Maybe they should be.
I don't know if you're not speaking.
Not if they're not.
I don't think they'll be.
Okay.
If they
Okay.
do speak, then I suppose they should be sworn in. So good afternoon, Chair Perlmutter, Vice Chair Chanda, and Commissioners. I'm Jeff Mulligan, a Planning and Development Specialist with the law firm of Kramer Levin, representing Lifetime for a special permit for a PCE to be located in a mixed-use building currently under construction at 85 J Street in Dumbo, Brooklyn. We listened to the review session, and I'll go through the comments that you made. We will show the outline of the courtyard above the ground floor and cellar levels as requested. In terms of the sound isolation measures, sheets that are labeled PCE 200, 201, and 202 do show the measures for the mezzanine level. And then these are keyed on the mezzanine level on PCE 100. So I don't know if you were asking for additional information.
So no, if you look at those drawings, they're only about the yoga studio, which is maybe that's the mezzanine, but they're only about the yoga studio, which is the upper level. I'm asking yoga studios, people like, let's just say the chanting makes noise, standing on your hands and throwing your legs against the wall makes noise. But other than that, they're not like major sources of sound. What is a major source of sound is rowing machines, treadmills, lifting weights and dropping them no matter what the rules are about dropping them and so on, which goes on in the cellar. And we have had terrible experiences with PCEs located in the cellar where the vibration is let's say, sensible at the 4th floor with your head on your pillow at 5 a.m.
Right.
So what Commissioner Shater was talking about, this is new construction. Arguably, it's designed in a way where there won't be vibration transmission all the way up to the 2nd floor, but we need to make sure that that's the case. Otherwise, you end up coming back here with very angry neighbors. And we're trying to prevent that, because the other way that it's done, I mean, for instance, Equinox often plans on angry neighbors and designs their facilities to avoid any of that transmission, right? And they have similar type of activities. So that's what we want. And if their assumption was we weren't going to do any acoustical separation because it's in the cellar, that's probably a mistake. So they need to look more closely at that.
Understood. All right. So I just want to make sure that you knew on the mezzanine level, we've got all the sound isolation measures. You're asking, what are we doing below that?
Yeah, correct.
And so we'll work with the developer. Obviously, we're working very closely. Lifetime's working very closely with the developer of the building. This is a big amenity for this 728 unit building that's under construction. And so Lifetime has been working with the developer to make sure that it's a good neighbor. So we will, in speaking with the developer, submit a letter that speaks to the engineering of the building and how the sound isolation is going to be addressed. And so in addition to that, Vice Chair Chanda, you asked about the massage. All massage will be conducted by licensed massage therapists. And Commissioner Otley Brown, you pointed out that there was inconsistency in the statement regarding the outdoor area. So we'll clean that up, and the outdoor area will be accessory to the cafe. And the only non-cafe activity that could occur out there is potentially yoga classes. And I will strike trainer base, since that is a little misleading. There will be trainers, but maybe it shouldn't be identified as trainer based. So I think that's everything.
Okay, yes, it is. All right. Any other comments from commissioners? So let's go to the public.
And just note I think she noted, Tracy, the WRP and the LPC get sign-offs. We receive sign-offs.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's no other open reviews.
Yeah. Okay, so go ahead, Tony.
2020, this case is 2020-72BZ, 85 J Street, Brooklyn. You're calling in at 646-558-8656. Zoom webinar ID number is 928-1347-4075, and the passcode is 253535.
So if you'd like to speak on this application and you're in our Zoom room, please raise your Zoom hand. Otherwise, if you called in, we only have one number that called in, raise your Zoom hand by dialing *9. Okay. So, Mr. Mulligan, how much time do you need to make those corrections?
We could submit in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Do you want to close?
Yeah, I want to wait and give it a little chance. I don't close until I see that nobody raised their hands. Okay. All right. So I'd like to make a motion to close.
Chair Perlmutter?
Aye.
Vice Chair Chanda?
Oops. Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown?
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta?
Aye.
Commissioner Shabeta? Commissioner Shabeta, you're muted.
Aye.
Thank you.
There we are.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great seeing everyone.
You
Bye.
too.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Continued hearing, item number 34, 2019-280BZ, 137 Fifth Avenue, Manhattan. This is Jay Goldstein.
Mhm.
Please state your name.
I'm waiting to be sworn in. Jay Goldstein for the applicant. Sorry.
Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do. Good afternoon, Jay Goldstein for the applicant. I heard the review session. So again, we did make contact with the neighbors to no avail. I believe the board had the same issues. The temporary shades were just in response to the board's concern. Unfortunately, with Amazon and shipping and orders from these companies, things were a little delayed. So we found the shades that we have are not just blackout, they're blackout and noise dampening shades. So I gave a cut sheet on that. They're not a perfect fit, which is why they were not meant to be the final solution. They were just an interim solution to, while we were trying to do the testing and while we were trying to figure out the appropriate solution for the space. We did order the residential acoustic shades, which these are shades that are specifically designed for acoustical sound. I gave a cut sheet, I believe.
No, we got a cut sheet for the one that's installed now, not for the future one.
I gave the information on the one that we ordered, but it was done to spec for the windows. Basically, the architect gave the dimensions that they needed in order to fully cover the windows. To that point, I'm fine with the board's statement of a closed window condition as well. We can send you a picture of the shades installed once they are installed, and I'll put the sound limiter information on the plans as becoming the new request of the board. I apologize, and I'll try and get that on the plans in advance of the hearings.
So with respect to the spec on this new custom version, I didn't find that material. Can you resubmit on the proposed? Because I only have the information on the name, which had a funny name, I forget what it was, of the other material.
So the sheet I submitted, I don't know if the board has it, but the sheet I submitted, it was titled Residential Acoustics Acoustic Curtain Spec Sheet. It was what was available on the company website, and it dampens the sound 21 to 25 dB. And it gives that information. It's a 6-page document, most of which is, kind of useless.
The residential acoustics is what they're going to get, and the nice town is what they have currently.
Oh, okay. So this is what it was. The residential acoustics, what you gave us, was quite a weird. It's basically, it's not really their spec sheet. Instead, for one, it's really a corrupted document. So that's the problem. I didn't even count it because it doesn't tell me anything. It's called residential acoustics. And then it just talks about loud sounds and, when it starts to be painful to hear sound and what a sound blocking curtain can do and about a lawnmower and things like that. It doesn't tell you anything about the product.
So it gives me the proven acoustic reduction.
No, not what we got.
On page 2 of the PDF.
No.
So maybe the document was corrupted.
Yeah, the document's corrupted. There isn't anything about.
Okay, so what I have a 6-page document in me that showed the different layers. It showed like a chart of different sound levels.
Yeah, but that's not useful. We know that it sounds, there's a bird or an airplane or all that stuff. We know that. What is this product?
So this is I can try and get you something better. This is what they had available on their website as their spec sheet or as their noise reduction information.
I don't think so. All right. So yeah, so it's not a very, if that's what your client bought based on, I don't know what they bought.
This is based on, the architect has used it in other studios, and that's why we ordered it, just to the specs of the windows.
Okay, so here's the thing is, this isn't something I expect you to know how to do, but spec sheets are something very specific, right?
Yeah.
What we got was more like the advertising sheet. A spec sheet on the website is actually, I'm just trying to see if I can find, and I don't know which product it is. They make acoustic curtain, acoustic door, acoustic track, curtain fabrics. We don't know which thing it is.
Right, so it's the acoustic curtain is the one that we.
Okay, acoustic curtain, all right. So when I click on that, there'll be a spec sheet, unless this is a really bad website, in which case it doesn't go anywhere.
I believe this is, you will find exactly what I.
But so that's not a spec sheet. That's
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
Madam Chair, if you, I just did this right now. I clicked on the link and you can go to the site.
I'm already on the site.
Okay.
So I'm on the site. I'm in this place called Acoustic Curtain, and I'm looking for what's actually a spec sheet. So please ask your architect to send you the actual spec sheet, because the thing that we got is not a spec sheet, okay? The spec sheet will say it's made out of this textile.
I know what you're looking for. The website doesn't have it handy. This is what they have. How much does this sound? There's a section on the website. How much sound does this acoustic curtain block? And then it gives you the handy infographic, which is what I gave you.
No.
I can call the company and try and get a spec sheet. And
Get a
see if they
spec
have
sheet. I don't know how they even decided to buy this thing. They don't have any information on their website. All right. So, all right, I don't want to get into any more detail. It might be the same sort of junky thing you already got as a temporary solution. So, so, you know, I don't give it necessarily a lot of whatever, but let's see. Okay. Okay.
So I mean this is coming and we can show it installed. I'll try and get to a
All right.
spec
I'm
sheet.
sorry, I'm distracted. I'm trying to do two things at once. Okay. All right. I think that's just the main issue. I think so. What we need one more time is to see the curtain installed, and then we can finish this up. And it's possible that in the meantime, the neighbors will come back and you'll be able to see whether this is effective.
Right.
Maybe they won't, because they may not be back till June.
Right. I would just ask, given, you know, we can send in the picture and send in and update the plans, are we able to potentially close this in the, you know, today, and I'll submit in the interim.
Okay, great. Thank you. Did we already go to the public on this one? No. So let's go to
this item is 2019-280BZ, 137 Fifth Avenue, Manhattan.
Phone number 274, please press star 6.
So there is somebody, 274.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi.
Hi. What application are you calling about?
Oh, I'm sorry, Madam Chair. This is David
Oh, it's
Schackenberg.
David. Oh, I see. No, we're not up yet. We're not up to you. Okay.
We were friends.
All right, so yeah, you have to hold your jets for a little bit, okay? All right then, seeing nobody from the public, I'm not going to close. I don't know. Can I close this and wait? What do we think? Can I close this and we wait for a submission on the curtain? Yeah, let's just do that. So we want a submission on the curtain installed, and I'm going to close it, but give enough time, maybe like a February return. So maybe that's enough time for the neighbors to comment, okay?
I mean, I would ask for an earlier decision only because
I'm not going to necessarily be able to accommodate it anyway.
I understand. I just like to make my pitch. You know, I have clients to represent, but this neighbor is across an alleyway, and no one in the building has complained when this was open. So if the board is able to accommodate an earlier grant, we would appreciate it just so that we can finalize the project.
Right, okay, thanks. All right, so when are you expecting this material?
It's a good question. The January hearing date, I'm hoping within the month that we'll get this material, and then the January hearing date should be okay. The one you mentioned before, that was your next available hearing date.
Right, okay. Okay, all
So
right.
motion to close?
Motion to close.
Chair Perlmutter?
Aye.
Vice Chair Chanda?
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown?
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta?
Aye.
Commissioner Shabeta?
Aye.
Item number 30, thank
very
you.
much. Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays. Item number 35, 2019-205BZ, 485 Van Cinderon Avenue, Brooklyn. Now, Mr. Schnackenberg.
Hi, good to see everybody. I hope you can all hear me okay.
Okay, the only one appearing, David?
Mr. Goldman is here, as well as the architects, and the architects, I believe, will be speaking, Andrew and Carlos. Do you need to swear all of us in?
Yeah, you could.
Okay. Andrew and Carlos, could you please
Unmute.
raise your hand and unmute? And Howard as well.
Ready? Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and respond honestly to board member questions?
We do. I do.
Mr. Goldman? Andrew?
Yes, I do too. I do. Thank
Okay,
you.
great. Thank you. Please proceed. State your name for the record. Mr. Schnackenberg?
This is David Schnackenberg with Goldman Harris, LLC, appearing for the applicant, Community Counseling and Mediation. We appreciate the board's comments. We listened to the review session. Before we get going on some of the issues that were raised in the review session, we just want to take a minute and thank the fire department, with whom we've been working very closely on this application. John Daly, Chief Resner, have given us a tremendous amount of time and feedback. We really appreciate their efforts and their attention. Same is true for HPD. I know HPD and BSA are working out this review process, and HPD has just been fantastic. We appreciate their attentiveness. We also want to thank the Councilmember Barron and her staff, including Joy Simmons, who have been working so hard on this application because it's just so important to get this housing built. And also the BSA staff. I've spoken to Jella 1,000 times about this application, and we really appreciate everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, can you, whoever that is, mute themselves? There's some noise in the background. Please mute yourself unless you're going to speak. Okay, good. Sorry, continue, Mr. Schnackenberg.
Oh, thank you. As you know, I don't want to belabor all the points. You did some sort of a rundown of where we are and how we got here. We were adjourned for FDNY purposes. We do, I believe we have the chair referred to as a conditional letter of no objection. I'll defer to Mr. Daly. I believe that we are okay to proceed with FDNY pending the review of the easement agreement. Other than that, I believe all the FDNY concerns. We were very pleased to receive our letter from HPD. I don't believe that there's anything further that we'll need from HPD. We're going to work very hard to keep this project exactly as it is. We are working under constraints that are related to affordability and design controls, and we don't anticipate any changes to the project that would necessitate HPD upon further review to require or request any changes. We are happy to record the easement and the restrictive declaration as requested. As you noted, we provided a new DOB objection for the rear yard waiver. The MDL waiver is an issue that we were operating under the assumption that in a manufacturing distance where the district, where the board has approved plans show a yard, we don't need the MDL waiver. However, if that's something that the board requires, we would certainly work expeditiously to get it.
No, actually it's the reverse. It's does DOB require it? We've had experience where you can make, and it's worth making the argument like that, but I'm not guaranteeing it, where the rule, I believe in the MDL, which I don't have sitting in front of me, and I don't have time to find, says that the legally required windows have to face onto a legal yard or court, right?
That's right. That's MDL 30.
Right. And so the question is, does BSA's approval of a reduced yard, which is reduced pursuant to zoning restrictions on the distance between legally required windows and lot lines, is that is that equivalent to then a legal yard, and therefore no MDL waiver is required? That's usually the argument that you make at DOB. I don't know whether DOB now subscribes to that. Mr. Knox had his hand up. You want to say something?
Just we do believe that you can make it legal, but yes, Andrew.
Yes, hi, thank you very much. I believe it will be legal for two reasons. First of all, it's 20 feet, and in a manufacturing district, the required rear yard is 20 feet. Secondly, for certain kinds of residential uses, use group 3 with sleeping accommodations, all you need in a commercial or manufacturing district, all you need is 20 feet for legal light and air. So between those 2 points, I don't think it'll be a challenge at the Department of Buildings. I could be wrong.
Right. So that's kind of the warning that you may end up having to come back for an MDL waiver, which is drag. So anyway, I would say that because we don't do closed votes, and in this case also, Tracy, the changes to the EAS and so on, are we allowed to close if we're just making technical changes to the EAS?
I don't want to interrupt.
Sorry. This is for Tracy Benkei. Is she there? I don't know if she is anymore. There you are. Okay, sorry, you're muted.
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
Yeah, so the question is, are we, since the open issues, you say when project is finalized, we need a memo stating how the environmental review is affected by the change in project parameters, and updated EAS, and notes on plans for hazmat and noise attenuation. Are we, based on those open issues, able to close this, or that's still considered an open seeker review?
I would like confirmation that none of the changes changed the outcome.
All right, so we really can't close this today because we don't have a negative declaration, and we're not able to close until we actually are able to make that statement. That's
Understood.
Okay.
Understood, Madam Chair. With respect to process, however, I just want to make sure, as a point of fact, we provided an updated EAS with the submission in August, and the proposed conditions plans have not changed since that time. So the EAS has been updated consistently with this. The time to August has only been in order for us to work out the FDNY access issues and to obtain a letter from HPD, both of which we've done. So we believe respectfully that our EAS is up to date now.
Oh, okay. So in August, when you submitted the EAS, it reflected the building pulled back and all that stuff? So the only thing that changed was running through the Snedeker building, is that?
That's correct. The building design, we've been working, FDNY has been so helpful. We've actually been working with them pretty much nonstop since June. We had been able to agree upon all of the physical building envelope issues, but there were certain controls that we needed to implement, and that's why we had to adjourn in August. But the building design has actually been set really since July, and that's why our EAS is up to date.
Okay.
So if I may ask, this is Carlo. So all the sign-offs are based on this iteration of the project, the current?
Yes.
Does that sound right, Tracy?
I don't believe the sign-offs. Well, I'm not sure. That's why I wanted the memo to confirm.
Mm-hmm.
We can certainly, perhaps I can speak with you offline after this hearing to make sure we get you exactly what you need. But
I mean, if the EAS is up to date and they're representing that there's no impacts and all the reviews were closed, I think it's okay closing it, as long as, if anything changes when I look at it, then.
Okay.
If I can make a suggestion also, yes, we could always close it, and upon discovering that something needs to be corrected or something, we could always reopen it. And again, I just want to confirm, Madam Chair, we're scoping out whether they need the MDL 60, the MDL 30 waiver?
What I was going to suggest to them, which is, that would be the cause to reopen, obviously. What I was going to suggest to them is, because we don't do closed votes, then, and we wouldn't have a vote on this until at the very best January, that gives you some time to do a little of that research on the MDL to make sure that you don't need it, because I hate the idea of having to come back as kind of a new MDL application if it turns out that that's needed, right? So
Right.
I was mostly, and then in terms of, I just want to make sure that we're okay in terms of seeker.
I mean, I do recall, didn't anticipate any new reviews were going to be needed based on the change. So I guess it'd be akin to just getting the final confirmation in a letter.
Okay.
That could be submitted.
Okay. All right. So then I'd like to make, I see someone's hand up. Maybe that's Mr. Schnackenberg's hand also. Anyway, so let's open this up to the public. To see if
So this is 2019-205 BZ, 485 Van Cinderon Avenue, Brooklyn.
There is someone with their hand up with last three digits 274.
274 is Mr. Schnackenberg, but Joyce Simmons just raised her hand.
Okay, so let's let her in.
Hello, all.
Hello.
I'm Joyce Simmons from Councilmember Inez Barron's office.
Hello, thank you for calling.
Yes, indeed. So just want to offer words of support on behalf of Councilmember Barron, because we've been working with this project for quite some time, through the ups and downs, the ins and the outs, and we believe that the developer has demonstrated that they are willing to work with the community and with the city, and making sure that all concerns are resolved, and they have been a model developer. So just wanted to, again, on behalf of the council members, state that word of support, and we'll continue to do what we can to help this affordable housing that's much needed for our community come to fruition. And anything that we can do in terms of the BSA board, any way that we can be helpful, please do let us know. Thank you.
Thank you very much for calling in. If anyone else would like to speak on this application, please raise your Zoom hand. Let's see if there's anybody else. Yeah, so if anybody else would like to speak, please raise your Zoom hand. Just to clarify again, this is 485 Van Cinderon Avenue in Brooklyn. Okay, so according to that, I would like just to announce, Chief Daly, would you like to speak on this? You don't need to if you don't want to.
No, Madam Chair. I mean, the design team has been very cooperative and helpful and open to our suggestion. And I fully support this application. Thank you.
Great. So just kind of, we would like to get fire department's okay on the restrictive declaration or the access agreement that they submitted, just to make sure.
Right. I had our counsel, Julian Basil, who's been reviewing it, but he has honestly been swamped. I will keep pushing him. But to be honest, with the design team and the attorneys have been very helpful in complying with all our requests, that we could condition the the easement at a later date. So I don't want that to hold up your decision on this application. Thank you.
Right. Okay. But our goal is to record both the restrictive declaration that has to do with a commitment on low-income housing and the access agreement at the same time, so we know it's just all taken care of, right?
No
That's the goal. Okay.
I'll chase after
So, okay, thank you.
Oh.
All right then. So I'd like to make a motion to close this.
I just have one
Perlmutter?
question. Sorry.
Oh,
Did-
sorry. Go ahead, Tracy.
Did you mention that I'm going to send the hazmat and noise attenuation notes because I don't believe they're on the plans right now.
Okay.
Thank you. We'll send those right back with an updated note.
Okay.
Okay. Don't forget that any changes to drawings need to be bubbled with a list of the changes, right?
With an index of changes, absolutely.
Yes, please make sure you follow our notice,
Understood.
administrative notice. Thank you.
It makes our review much faster and arguably more accurate. Okay, so then I'd like to make a motion to close.
Chair Perlmutter?
Aye.
Vice Chair Chanda?
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown? Aye. Commissioner Sheta?
Aye.
Commissioner Shabeta?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is 2020-61BZ, 342, 346 East 104th Street, Manhattan. Richard, who else? Amber.
No, Amber, I see Amber. Okay.
Richard's here also.
He is.
I see Richard LaBelle. And
Oh, there you are. There you are.
Everyone.
Is Mr. Kevin Williams in?
Oh, I thought
Amber's there.
Amber's in.
And Fayan. You're leading this, Fayan?
No, I'm gonna let Richard lead.
Okay.
Being nice.
Being nice.
You gotta be nice to the boss.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
All right. You want to swear everybody in?
Yeah. Ready?
Yep.
Okay, raise your right hands. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do.
Yes.
I do.
Okay, please proceed. State your name for the record.
Richard Lobel of Sheldon Lobel PC for the applicant. Good afternoon, Chair, Commissioners. We attended the board's virtual executive session and are able to respond in full to the comments. We note, as the board did, that the community board returned an overwhelmingly vote on this application. And so we're happy to move forward with the board. As most of the comments are related to the architectural aspects of the school, we would have Stephen Chu from INEAD speak, and Andrea Wenner, who is here from the school, can add some information with regards to operations.
Hello, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Thank you for your time, giving us an opportunity to respond to your comments. I think I'm just gonna, to keep us succinct here, go through your list, and I would like to pull up a drawing just to refer to a visual here. Can I share my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so the first topic that was commented on is the entry court landscape condition and the wall that is along the property line. Madam Chair, I think I'm just trying to interpret your comment, but I believe you were referring to the section down below where there seems to be a gap there.
And it seems to be on your property line as opposed to their property line.
It's actually, it's on their property line because our fence, I'm sorry, is along our property line. The truth is that they overbuilt their property line and we had to push our wall actually north to accommodate their overbuild. But that area, essentially, I'm sure you are all familiar with this condition. This used to probably be a double light well. It was mirror, it was symmetrical. And when that building went down, we've got a lot line like this. So the area is actually sort of in the middle of their plan. I will make an architectural comment, which is the design here we really wanted to provide this buffer of green against this wall. I think we talked about it last time.
Yes.
You can see it in section here, what we're trying to achieve is the backdrop to give some shielding and to give a nice experience here. I think that would be beneficial to both sides. Because we brought this ramp up to the entry at an angle, we purposely pulled it away from the lot line to create a buffer here. So the only thing I can say, I do understand your concern. I think Andrea can speak to the maintenance and the cleaning regimen of the school, but the architecture, I believe, helps to at least pull you away from that area. And it is an area of movement and not of rest. It's the circulation route.
Right.
And then yep, sorry.
Just a question. So in that same section, and now again, looking at the plan closer to First Avenue, there is a space between your wall and the wall of the neighbor, not where the area well is, the light well, right? There is a space, so those are the kinds of things I'm like, is there some sort of screening, mesh or something that's going to be installed there so it doesn't just become gum wrappers or whatever?
No, totally understood. I think the challenge becomes if you go to their property line and whose property is on, but I totally understand your point, and there needs to be attention given to moments like this. What is actually happening right here?
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
All right. And so the issue again of that section is really more of a profile. It's not a real section.
Yeah. Yes. We're not, Madam Chair, we didn't show this, as we both know, a real section would show soil. I should show footing under the wall, but this was kind of a graphic just to say everything here, post-shade, neighboring building. But you're correct, that would be a sunken soiled planter.
Okay.
Yeah. By raising this 2.5 feet, we've accommodated a way to also plant a more significant vertical green here, like small trees. Otherwise, it wouldn't really give us much of a barrier ultimately.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. So the next point I wanted to make, and we can provide this elevation. You commented about that, looking at this elevation.
And from the school's perspective, that will be closely monitored by our, maintenance team and janitorial staff. That we have another building on 2nd Avenue that they maintain very diligently, both interior and exterior. So that's something that's familiar to our operations team very much.
Okay.
Okay. If that's okay, I'm going to move on to what I think was the next topic, which is really the 3rd floor terrace issues here. Okay, so I'm going to try to zoom into this. You had mentioned a 12-foot and a 6-foot discrepancy. I'm sorry, but we can't figure out where we screwed up and put 12-foot because it doesn't exist. This should all be 6-foot. This note here was intended to indicate that this surround would be a 6-foot fence.
Oh, I thought that, so this issue is that on whatever that wall is, the east wall?
The west.
That's the west wall. On the west wall, because you have a sensitive receptor relative to noise, that the fence on that side has to be taller, not 6 feet. And I thought that I saw somewhere, now I can't remember where, a notation for a tall fence, like 10 feet, 12 feet, something. If you
let me see. Maybe it was in an elevation.
Tracy, no, I thought it was on the plan. Tracy, doesn't the EP, the noise study, indicate treatment in addition to having that restricted area, to have something on the west wall with a taller?
Amber, you should be able to speak to that.
Yeah, Amber might know better.
Amber, are you there?
Amber with Environmental. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
This is Amber with Equity Environmental. Yes. So the distance that's outlined, you can see the dimensions kind of highlighted in gray over there. Those dimensions are meant to denote a restricted area where student access would be prohibited, and that was that area was designed according to a line of sight study that was conducted based on an identified minimum distance of impact for noise of 43 feet with that 6-foot tall fence. So what DEP had requested in their email yesterday, along with their comment letter was that that 6-foot tall fence would require 20 dBA of attenuation or sound attenuation. And Tracy, I know I had a couple of questions related to that, but the fence would be 6 feet based on our noise study.
Oh, so, okay, so now I'm confused because I thought I read maybe it was a prior DEP noise letter that said it needed to be taller?
I could check.
I know the email from I know the email from DEP referred to a 6-foot fence. So they're speaking to that, specifically that western fence, that 30
Yeah,
feet.
I haven't seen 12 feet recently. I'd have to check the old letters.
Okay. All right, I'm trying to find it, but
we never modeled anything but the 6 foot in terms of a submission to DEP, because the idea was to make the fence height consistent around the entire enclosure, to modify the area of restricted access based on that fence height.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
And so we would provide a fence that met the required 20 dBA transmission loss, absorptive panel wall, be solid. It wouldn't have any visual opening in it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then the issue you raised about the green area to prohibit students from going there. What can be done is we do have options for the details. They do affect the cost. I can just describe how this is built, and I'm sure you're going to understand what I'm saying, but this is basically a raised pedestal system. So we've got the roof deck, waterproofing, insulation, pedestals, pavers, and within that depth, we can provide areas where you don't put the grid of the pavers and the pedestals and you insert a planting sedum tray. Now, to prohibit students from trampling over it, what can be done is raising that bed higher up. It's just it's a cost impact, but there is the viable option constructability wise. It's not that difficult. You're basically raising the box up so that people can't really get over to it. There are other means such as light sort of rope rail that can be done as another means to prohibit students from traveling over to that light gray zone.
Right. So, so the sedum is a very delicate material.
Yes.
So trample done in a week, right? Maybe done in 2 days. So, and if you raise it, it would need to be raised significantly. Otherwise, it's just a step or a seat.
Yeah, you got to raise a box up. Basically, you're doing poche under it for sedum. Yeah. Another condition we've explored, obviously we don't want to exceed the structural load capacity of our structure and incur a lot of costs there, but there are some options in between where you can provide some soil and get more bushy plants so that it's not flat. I think that was the desire from a design perspective, to get a little bit more height on it.
Right, okay. So you don't really know, you haven't decided how you're going to handle it yet. Basically.
Yeah, but I think your points are very valid, and we've had the same discussions ourselves about that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it's just, all I can think of is it's an environmental condition in our resolution that you have to keep that as a restricted area and method to keep students from accessing that, right?
Correct.
It will also be this is Andrea from EHDP. It will also be very much a supervised space. So our intention is not that students can just go out there, but rather that, the door is locked unless a staff member unlocks it and is supervising students outside, whether that's during recess time or rather lunchtime. They're not recess time for high school students, but during lunchtime or, for a class or something like that. So there won't be sort of unattended students just running around out there.
Andrea, do you want to just speak quickly to, is it related to this terrace was a question about the lighting design approach? Right?
Yes, so the lighting was as one of the board members suggested, I think Mr. Shabeta at the end, was simply so that we could see if there was somebody up there. Not because we're going to have events or anything like that, but just for security purposes to know that somebody, if somebody sneaks out there somehow or gets onto the roof, that they would be visible to other people. If there's a suggestion from the board as to like what time we should turn those lights off at, that's, we're very happy to do that. We thought it was a good measure to have lights there for that reason.
So when you say there's somebody to sneak out, what hours are we talking about with the somebody?
Sort of after dark, like if it's, 6 o'clock till whenever, the middle of the night. I don't know if somebody somehow gets onto that space. Somebody down below could say like, I see a person, over there.
Can we lock the doors?
Somebody, are you talking about an intruder or a student who sneaks?
Anybody. Like, I have no idea. I hope neither of those happens, but,
Can we lock the doors?
I once got locked in a playground at a school. They didn't realize I was still out there, and the janitor shut the door, and I was stuck out there in a fenced playground.
Can't there be motion sensor lights?
Those go on when a bird lands on it.
Yes, they are problematic, unfortunately.
So, but wouldn't, in terms of, if the concern is about someone like in your case getting trapped out there, wouldn't the phone number to somebody with a key be more useful in terms of that? And otherwise, all rooftops have a concern about an intruder, I guess. Maybe what you're really talking about is an alarm system with some kind of, with a camera, something like that, so that security can check whether there's an intruder on the roof. And those cameras are really cheap now.
That could be something. I mean, I guess I'd also just, if there was something that happened after school, say during like the middle of, I don't know, when it starts to get dark earlier, and we want to have like a gathering or something at 4:30 and it's starting to get a little bit darker, is it helpful to have some lights on until 6 o'clock when the event's over or something like that?
Right. So 6 o'clock's one thing, but what Commissioner Otley Brown, who brought this up initially, was getting at is that we don't want events on these setback areas, and lighting and sound systems are obviously sources of real annoyance to neighbors, right? And we do have we have what we call sensitive receptors. We have residential neighbors who will be disturbed by this, and the idea of having a light that's on all the time.
So is there a time at which you would say like good practice from our position is that you should turn the lights off at 7 p.m. or whatever time it is? Because like I said, we're happy to just comply with whatever that rule.
Commissioner Otley Brown, we usually do what?
I would think at the end of the school day, so that would be approximately 6. But if you're worried about the security in the after hours, there are a number of schools that we've had that have had rooftop terraces that are like 3-4 stories off of the ground, and you might want to reach out to them and find out what they do for security in the absence of lighting, because we don't allow lighting in those. We didn't allow lighting in those either.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I do like the idea of having a distress button on the outside anyway, just in case something that happened to you before it won't happen to someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a distress button is a nice idea, and a camera, so that you can just
for sure.
And then turn the lights off by 6.
Okay.
Okay.
That sounds reasonable. Thanks.
Okay. So let me just go on to the next. Let's hit the big one first. The facade is, to me, the big one. Okay, so I just wanted to bring up our detail. There it is. Okay, so the concern is this here, correct? Because this is, in terms of exterior insulated facade system, it's a singular panel with some finish on some. This is not flammable like the traditional foam. It is, but we understand your point. So that's essentially saying we can't use anything like this. Our options therefore become either we have to explore using a true CMU backup and true tree coat plaster, or we have to, I think, look at some kind of metal panel system, insulated metal panel.
Metal
system,
panels, cement panels also.
Cement board, you know, Swiss
Yeah.
Pearl, one of these products are the other options that we have, rain screen, or back to, I think this would be the consistent approach, is just wrap the east, west, and the south with the same product. My only concern is this, the load implication to this worries me. But we would like, with your permission, to just explore this and come up with a decision, cost impact, get a client approval, and we will expedite this revision to the design.
Okay.
Okay. So we will comply, basically. We'll nix this option out.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So let me get to the roof, because that's a little bit more complicated discussion, which was the other topic. Let me go to the roof plan. Whoops, sorry. Okay. All right. So just to be clear, the proposal we're asking for is no fence. So what we're asking is a variance to not do the fence. In terms of how this complies, it does comply, only that we are not putting a fence around it. That's the one point that's being asked, is the fence due to economic hardship. So what we did do, you know what, let me just do this, because I do want to represent to you that we did listen to you, and we did actually spend time to draw up an entire other application that had the enclosure on it. So this is a set that has an enclosure, just to show you the difference. We came up with the design, and we got it estimated to get a sense of cost. So this version does show that enclosure around it. This we actually needed for access, and this piece would be removable as well for access and maintenance of that unit.
Say that again. What is for the main?
Oh,
Say that one
sorry.
more.
See this panel right here?
Yes.
This, we have to be able to remove this piece, because this unit needs clearance around it, and that violates it. So that does create a complication here. Okay. And the other thing I was just pointing out is that this area was left open in the design, because there does need to be this sort of access, and the dunnage on the water tanks become very complex and could become a mess over there. So we're just showing the extent of the fence essentially almost fully complete, except for that little piece there.
Okay.
Okay. Now I wanted to show you. Okay, so these are the studies we did. Here I'm showing you the option with the screen and without the screen. So on the left, you see the pink is the mechanical equipment that would be exposed. Okay. And on the right, you'll see the options with a 10-foot screen. So that's in green here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's what the impact would be from the southeast corner. On the, I'm sorry, the northeast corner. The southeast corner, you can see that little piece of equipment, and this would be the enclosure of the mechanical screen if it were added.
So the argument is, therefore, the screen's more visible than the mechanical.
You got it. That's essentially what we're trying to say, is the screen is even more visible than the units themselves, because you have to push them away for access, pulling coils, you know, all this stuff. You got to push them away from the units, and then they start getting way out near the parapet edge.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, we also did this view, which is taken from the far west side, just from a distance to see. And that's the difference between the screen or no screen.
Right. Okay.
And again, just to due diligence here, we did even explore your idea of the trellis and looked at this version. Ultimately, in terms of effect to visual obstruction, the fence was more effective. In terms of cost for the trellis, it was not so low, because this plan spans such a distance that either I have to start penetrating the roof with more posts, which I don't like doing, pitch pockets and all that. But to just do a trellis type structure above, which I think could be nice, but to do it well would be extremely expensive, because then I'm doing so much structure here on top of my vertically cantilevered posts going up, right? So this is actually quite more minimal than that trellis idea in order to do it in a holistic way.
Mhm.
Okay. So those were our studies. We looked at it we tried a couple options, we got a price, and what we're asking the commission is, based on these studies, would you consider allowing the client to not build that, which I think we had some estimate about 150 grand. That estimate is based on very simple galvanized steel posts and a simple extruded, more like of a corrugated siding on this wrap. So there's nothing fancy there.
Okay. So the other question that I had was,
yes,
which you did explain in your as of right, but not on proposed.
Okay.
Where, at what point does the equipment arrangement on the roof exceed the allowable obstructions and height and all that?
It doesn't actually. So in the application, what we're showing, the amount of equipment, if we calculated the amount of equipment and up here and the allowable, we were falling under the 30% maximum.
Oh.
Yeah.
So what do you still need waivers?
We need a waiver for not putting the fence around it. That's what we need.
It's only the screening.
Yes, yes, yes. You got
okay.
it. You got it.
Before I thought maybe you were penetrating this, exceeding the maximum allowable.
Well, what happened was in the as of right scheme, this is where it gets a little more complicated, because the roof is smaller, because it has the setbacks, right?
Yeah.
Setback, it's significantly smaller.
Yes.
Was that this scheme made it a challenge to meet the code.
I see. Okay.
And so we ended up pushing them down into enclosed space because we couldn't meet it. And at that point, it just became a big floor mechanical.
Mm-hmm. Okay, got it.
Yeah, that's the logic. I know it's twisted, but it is the full story there.
Not twisted, makes it.
It's just complicated.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
That's very clear. Thank you.
Okay. Let me see if I missed anything. I think we covered it, unless you guys have another point that I forgot or didn't cover here.
So the only thing I wanted to point out is, again, you didn't hear, we stamp a set of drawings.
Yes,
right, that
yes.
get to DOB, so we need to get rid of all your
Yes.
color screens.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I know we did that in order to try to provide a graphic understanding of program to the chart of areas.
Yes.
Honestly, I hate doing this. It's hard. You can't read a plan like an architect wants to.
Right.
So what you guys prefer is really just a simple black and white plan that reads legibly.
So this is helpful for us to review for different reasons.
Yeah.
Right? But
Yeah.
the set that will go to DOB has to be
Yes.
the
Oh,
standard
absolutely.
black and white set. Okay.
Yes. Yes, we understand that. Yes.
Right. All right. It's great. Thank you very much. Very
Okay.
helpful. So let's go to the public and see if there's anybody who wants to speak on this application. There are two people in the waiting. Oops. So so Tony, you want to read the case? We still have Tony? I'll read it. So this is application number.
Application number
Go ahead.
20, are you calling it?
No, you are.
2020-61BZ, 342-346 East 104th Street, Manhattan.
Great. So if you'd like to speak on this application, please dial in the number on your screen, 646-558-8656, and enter the ID number 928-1347-4075. So in the meantime, while we wait to see if there's anyone who wants to speak on this, the plans need to be amended to deal with the material, right? The facade material. And I don't think I can't find any more of the thing about the fencing on the side. Either I hallucinated it while I was reading period, or I can't find it, so it's no longer an issue. But because it's possible there's this floating number somewhere on your drawing, please make sure that every plan has the same information, every elevation and section has the same information.
We
about
will go hunting for that 12-foot dimension right now.
It may not be 12.
Maybe something else, right?
Something
Okay.
about the fence, but maybe it isn't. Maybe I hallucinated. Anyway, it's a great opportunity to check that your drawings are consistent all the way through.
I didn't find it in the EAS or the DEP letters. So
I don't know. Maybe I dreamt about it and I woke up and then I started writing my notes. I don't know. So, and then the elevation for the entry court. And I think, and then the understanding that we're going to have a restriction on the access to that sort of planted area on the rear, and lights off by 6 p.m. on that little rear setback area. Okay. All right. So how much time do you need to do that work?
Chair, the applicant team discussed this prior to the hearing, and to the extent we're able to make, obviously the school is extremely pressed for timing. We're happy to submit the next available submission date, which would probably be this coming Wednesday, in order to make the next scheduled hearing date.
So can you, I mean, because, you know, please understand, we appreciate all of this, but we have like 35 applications on the next hearing date. So can you explain a little bit what the actual timing situation is on this case?
Andrea, do you want to discuss that for a minute?
Sure. So we're basically done with demolition at this point, and DOB has gone through. We've gone through most of the objections of DOB, and they said next meeting will be once you have BSA approval. And so as soon as we get hopefully BSA approval and thereafter DOB approval, we already have a construction manager set, and they're out sort of buying and awarding trades with some of this obviously known to be pending. And we need to start as soon as possible. Our goal is to try to open up the school building in September of 2022, which is an extremely ambitious timeline. You know, and sort of every day counts. So to the extent that we're in a position to start, you know, in the new year, that helpful.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. I'm not sure what we'll be able to do. I'm talking about even creating a special hearing just for decisions, but I'm not sure how to deal with this. Okay, at this point. Okay. So
we also, sorry, we have open reviews as well for.
Oh, we have open reviews.
Yes.
So hazmat is open. Yeah.
And we'll have a resubmission. We'll have a resubmission by tomorrow for the revised draft trade fee for hazmat, and then the DOT comment submission and the noise submission you can probably expect by the beginning of next week. So that would close out the outstanding comments per the 2 letters we got yesterday in hazmat.
Okay, but the problem is then we cannot close a hearing with open environmental reviews. So that's just a basic rule about how seeker works. So yeah, we have
I think the chair,
open DOT, right, Tracy?
Yes.
And open school safety.
No, sorry, I'm in transit. School safety was closed, but the rest of DOT is still open, and hazmat and noise, I believe, as well is open.
Okay. All right, so that answers that. So we're not going to be able to close this till some January, I don't know, whenever that information is completed, we wouldn't be able to close until then. So,
yeah, Chair, I think our prior conversation with the executive director was, first of all, obviously, we appreciate everything the board's done and the expedited manner in which this case has been handled. You know, we don't often find ourselves in a position where we are aggressive as far as trying to get a school in you know, in what amounts to a year and a half. Having said that, we're, you know, I'm sure the board can do whatever it can do. We understand that that although it can't be closed right now, that there would be a potential for, you know, potential close and determination on the next date. So
I don't know. Okay. No, I don't know that. That's
we know.
so not going to make any promises because we
Understood.
don't actually do that. Okay. Understand we're working under difficult conditions when we work
course.
remotely, Zoom, everything. So you have to understand that.
Understood.
So all I can say is we'll try to put you on as soon as possible, but I'm not sure how that's going to work. But as far as other open issues, it's really just the in terms of non-environmental, it's just a facade and the clarification on the little garden entry court. Okay. All right. So thank you, everyone. We'll let you know when the return date for the continuation is. Okay.
Thank you very
everyone.
much. Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners.
Okay, Madam Chair, are we doing Bound Street?
So, yeah, so call it and we have to discuss it.
Okay, so we're recalling item number 15, 2019-292BZ, 4162 Bound Street, Queens. This has already been reopened, right? Yeah, we already reopened this, right?
Been opened. I don't know if anyone from the team is here. The applicant team, there's 2 people in the hearing room still, in the waiting room, and I don't know. Okay, one dropped out, the other one spoke earlier on another case, so he's just sort of left over somehow.
I think Mitch Ross was listening to the YouTube video. He wasn't.
I can reach out to him if you'd like.
No, so our problem is this. The drawing with the elevations and so on was submitted to us this morning, right? And Commissioner Sheta has his hands up. I tried to review it myself in the break and I just could not do it fast enough. And I couldn't find the coordination between the FAA determination heights and the drawing and what the drawings were showing. I wasn't finding them matching. And then I'll let Commissioner Sheta, who also tried to review it simultaneous with listening to the hearings, which is not easy, right? So Commissioner Sheta, go ahead.
Yeah, I did look at the like the elevations for the 5 points provided in the determination letter, and I did compare them to what is provided on the plans on drawing the last set of drawings. This is BSA-12, and they appear to match. The issue is, if you look, and the issue here is because this is the first actually elevation set in the group of elevations, BSA-06. If you look at the top of roof elevation, it's shown in NAVD/AMSL. When you read it, it says 25.31. I'm not sure if this is a typo or it should be 215.31. I'm not sure if this is a typo or just the one for the 215. The second digit is heading in that thick vertical line of the elevation. I believe it's heading in that line, but I'm afraid that if somebody look at it, it's gonna seem like it's 25.31. On the other elevations.
Yeah, go ahead.
On the other elevations, it's written as 215.31, but on this one, I'm not sure. So that is my.
Okay. Because I don't want to torture the applicant. If you were able to find out from review, because I didn't have enough time to get to the FAA determination letter of no hazard, that the height of the building with the bulkhead is not exceeding what the no hazard determination was.
Let me share my screen.
Okay.
Give me 1 second.
because the other elevations don't have this problem with the number 1 getting hidden by the box, the outline of the elevation. I wish
So
that
this
people
is
would-
this is
Yeah.
the determination letter I looked at. It's dated 4/14/2020, and I did compare
No.
these.
No, actually, that's not, the determination letter is on, I believe it's on the top. Go to the top of that document where it says flight determined, this one. It says that the maximum height is 237 feet AMSL, right? That's the maximum height of
Yes.
the building. So then when you go to, okay, so this is for point which? For point 1, right? What
This
point
is
is it?
this is for the entire building. The 237 is like the limit for the entire building.
Ah, okay. So
Yeah,
we
but
have
if you want to look
230
at
Yeah, go ahead.
if you want to look at a specific points, you go all the way down here, and it gives the coordinates for 5 points: latitude, longitude, and elevation. And I did compare these to what is given on the drawings, and they appear to match.
So I thought, though, that there's a determination sheet for every point, and that each one of those is a point. So there's 225s and 1 237. And so, but we have 1 237 on drawing 06, 236. This is the part that I'm confused about. So each one of those points has different coordinates. Can you scroll down? There should be more FAA point determinations. I'm going to try
In
to
that
find it.
determination letter, you mean?
Yeah, each one gets its own letter. No, I'm going to try to find it myself here. Sorry, everyone. So this is part of the problem. We're being asked to review something on the fly. I'm very uncomfortable with doing this. And 292 BZ. Here. I thought there's a different letter for every point, and I'm not finding it now. Ay, ay, ay.
Madam Chair, you're right. I do remember seeing it, and I remember in the initial hearing, I had, as part of that, I had seen it, but somehow I'm not able to open the file right now, so I cannot confirm.
Okay, maybe it's this one, revised plans. See, part of it was we got that FAA report, the FANA report. Here it is, the aeronautical study, maybe it's there. So those aeronautical studies, they kind of go on and on and on. And at the very end, he attaches all the determinations, I think, but now I can't find it. So it's kind of like, I don't know what to say. We're being asked to do this really off the cuff. And all I can say is I have a huge headache. And so I prefer to not have to come to this conclusion.
The plans indicate on the table that only one of the points requires a waiver.
Oh, really?
Yes. Let me see which plan sheet that was. It was FAA study sheet BSA 12, I believe, at the top. under compliance in the table, it says BSA required only for the first point, which is center. And that's
Which is
at a
center.
height of AMSL NAVD 88, 222 feet. And then the proposed height of buildings there is 225.46. In the FAA height determination study, above ground level is 165 feet. So it's just the center, and it indicates that that's FAA ASN 2018 AEA 14938 -OE. So it looks like it's just for the first point in the center.
First point in the center. It's for the bulkhead. That's the one, right? So the bulkhead height, they don't tell us the bulkhead height. Oh, here, bulkhead height, 225.46. And then 5 feet for the warning light, which is 230.56. So according to that, yeah.
So I think it's the BSA page 12, right? Is the drawing 12. Is that the one, Counsel?
Yes, that's the one that I was referencing.
Right.
And so
yeah,
when we
so
saw
BSA drawing number 12 has a chart which lists 5 points, and it's the center one. Because this is a big zoning lot, and the points were taken from all the corners, but the only relevant one applicable to this is the building and the top of the building.
I see.
The other one where we had 5 points that all needed waivers. And so there were 5 FAA determinations.
Right. Okay, I get it. All right, so the only one we need to be looking at is the one that's 225.46.
Right.
Which is drawing 225.46. So the overall AMSL of 237. This is the part that's not so confused. Why is there a 236 determination? That's what doesn't match. And then a 236, 236. That's the part that's so confusing. The determination's 235 and they're showing 236. Okay. All right, I think it's okay. I don't know what else to say. I think it's okay. I know the applicant only sort of heard it from us this morning, but it's sort of obvious, really, that they had to have changed all this into NAVD 88 and that they're the same. But anyway, all right. Okay, I guess it's okay. So I would like
determination for the center is 237. It had that determination letter that's dated 4/14/2020. If you go to page 4 of 9, the first point, the first line lists that center point, and the determination for it is 237 AMSL. So I believe it's what is shown in the drawing is within that. So I believe it's okay.
Okay. All right. Based on that, I'd like to make a motion to close and accept the submission as is. Thank you, everybody, for digging in. It's just so difficult to review stuff while we're in hearings. So a motion to close, Tony? You have to unmute yourself. You're muted.
I keep muting. Sorry. Chair Perlmutter?
Aye.
Vice Chair Chanda?
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown?
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta?
Aye.
Commissioner Shabeta?
Aye.
Okay. So that's it. We already voted on. Did we vote on this one? No.
No, we
And a
deferred
motion-
decision.
Right.
Chair
and a-
Perlmutter? Chair Perlmutter?
Aye.
Commissioner, Vice Chair Chanda?
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown?
Nope, now you're muted. Didn't hear
Muted,
you.
I can't hear you.
Say it again. Unmute and say.
Commissioner Otley, okay.
Aye.
There we go.
Okay. Commissioner Sheta?
This is the motion to grant, right?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Aye.
Commissioner Shabeta.
Aye.
Okay, application's been granted. This is the final case for the final hearing of the BSA for the year. Yay!
And I have to say,
Yes.
this has probably been the most interesting public hearing year in our 105-year existence.
Woo!
Could easily be.
We made it. We
Oh
made
my
it.
It's end of the year, everybody's not focusing well, so that's why.
I look forward to virtually seeing all of you next year.
We're still
Exactly.
live.
Yeah, that's okay. We're
Say
still
what?
live.
We're
Yes.
still,
live.
we
That's
are
fine.
live. That's okay. We're just saying nice things as we're live. We're wishing,
That's
and I
fine.
wish everyone a fabulous holiday and everything, but I think we will see each other in a day or two to get to do that again. So, thank you.
This
to the
concludes
public.
yes, this concludes the public hearing for December 15th, 2020, 2 p.m. session.
Okay, so, yeah. Good night, everyone.
Have a good
you.
year,
Good
rest of the
night.
year, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.